this documentary on Histories of Suva. This documentary has been made by Dr Kirsty Close, but it's off the back of Talanoa with Dr Tarisi Vunidilo. We have been doing our Facebook Lives through her Talanoa with Dr T Facebook page, and so this has been created after we've worked on that together. This is going to outline some of the power struggles that went on in early Suva. So looking from around the time of European intrusion onwards. So what we think we know about Suva is that it was inhabited up to about 2,500 years ago, and the community was originally settled at Uluwatu, overlooking the beautiful Walu Bay. There were also settlements at Tathirua, near Tamavua, Naivuivui, near Tholoi Suva, and Vuniveilakau on the Samambula River. The most significant site of settlement, at least in retrospect, was on the site of what is now Thurston Gardens, which were established in 1913 and named for the 5th Governor of Fiji, Sir John Bates Thurston, who was in the role from 1888 to 1897. This community's rara was on what is now the Nasova Police Barracks drill ground. There are no obvious signs that this was a place of significance. The most visible landmarks now are the clock tower and the fountain. It's understandable if even long-term residents of Suva did not know the longer history of this site. In decades after Lavuka was established as the site of commercial endeavour and central port for incoming and outgoing peoples to the island group, Suva was of increasing interest. The area was eyed off by Europeans, and in the process some boundaries were outlined, which left Suva roughly 23 to 27,000 acres from Lami to the Waimanu. These boundaries were confirmed in a confirmation deed that was signed by Ratu Seru Thakambau and the chiefs of Suva on the 13th of July, 1869. And that's how it is told in R.A. Derrick's book of the history of Fiji. William Brewer and Paul Joske's plantation was probably the best known. These men were members of the Polynesia Company also. They had established a sugar mill in Suva by 1873. In 1874, there were about 250 acres under sugar and 165 workers from Vina, Marilava and Espirito Santo. The sugar crops struggled to granulate. This was due to the shallow soil sitting over soapstone. And the plantation sat at Suva Point, which was next to the reserve set up for the original Suva peoples. The Europeans increasingly took control over the township and how it transpired. There was a plan for the township designed in 1877, when the population of Europeans was sitting at about 200. There were limited supplies of fresh water, which was one of the challenges that Suva residents faced. There were also large numbers of mosquitoes and sandflies to combat. At this time, R.A. Derrick has written, the town revolved around the government offices. The decision to import foreign workers also brought shifts to the colony that would change Fiji forever, socially, economically and politically, in every way. By the 1880s, Indian labourers were working in the colony and were involved in constructing a stone pier into Suva Harbour. We have descriptions of the people working around the harbour, which gives some insight into the environmental changes that were underway as much as the people. So this is a quote from the time. The men with pick and shovel, the women with baskets to carry the material on their heads to the trucks, which run on a tramway to the water's edge. The children of these laborious sable mothers are playing about with some native children until the daily task is done at 4 p.m, when they hide them home to the barrack quarters built for them just outside the town. The roads were mostly still mud at this stage, but Sir Henry Scott wrote that coral was being used to set foundations for the roads by 1883. The seafloor and its occupants, like the coral, were unearthed to solidify the ground and support the tread of the island's new residents. Now that you know a little bit about the start of Suva as the town that we know today, I wanted to just talk a little bit about the ways in which power shifted through this time. So I did mention that Thakambau and some of Suva's chiefs were signing documents to say where the boundaries of Suva were, and were involved in the transition of land to the Polynesia Company. This has been very problematic because there are processes which can't be undone. There's the lack of recognition for the original landowners around Suva, of especially the people who ended up at Suvaval. And then the other things to keep in mind are how Suva was the emblem of power for the colonial version of Fiji, and then has stayed that way into the independence era. And the ways in which the Great Council of Chiefs, for example, took a leading role and were very symbolic in that process of maintaining some Indigenous control over government and the governance of Indigenous affairs at least, and having a say in the way that the colony was shaped, and then how independent Fiji was formed. And it's worth thinking about who was involved in those discussions and who wasn't, and what impact that has had long-term through Fiji's history. So I hope that's been interesting for you all, and I encourage you to go over to the Talanoa with Dr. T Facebook page or YouTube channel and subscribe to her as well, and you'll find there a bunch of discussions about this and a lot of other stuff, especially the Histories of Suva, but then we're working our way around Fiji in the next couple of months. So and depending on when you find this video, you might be able to find some real gems. So take care, Mothe Manda. Hope you stay safe and well, and I'll talk to you soon.